So here is the print I did a little bit earlier, and as you can see there's a great big string coming up as the nozzle would lift when it's finished, like a great big knitting needle. That's how I think of it, sticking up there. And there's a lot of stringiness between these two cogs. So there's a knitting needle. That's what I'm thinking of it as. Look at it there, and look at all the stringiness here. Now look at the amount that's coming off this small sort of pinion cog here, because these two cogs are quite close together. I'm using black PLA, which is not the best, 200 degrees, E3D-v6 HotEnd, 1.75mm filament there. So I'm going to look at seeing if I can solve this problem of this stringiness. Look at it. So here is my boarding tube, and as you see it goes all the way up here, all the way up here, and to the feeding sort of gear mechanism here. So there's quite a bit of boarding tube there, so I intend to shorten this, but obviously you want to make sure that it can reach all the way. So I'm going to move my print head over to the right and as far, well, touching the bed before I even start. Then I'm probably going to have to warm the boarding tube up to say about 50-60 degrees to pull the filament out of the boarding, well, the hot end there. So that's what I'm going to do next. So let me get this moved. So I'm using pronto face at the moment, and I'm going to zero everything. So I'm going to show you what's happening on the printer rather than in pronto face, because it's a bugger showing you this, to be honest. I mean, I could use the display thing, which I just have in a like cardboard box almost type thing that I hacked together myself. It seems noisy, that fan. That's the power supply fan in there. But anyway, I'll probably sort that out sometime later. Let's home everything, if it'll work. Let me move this display over a little bit. There we are, homed. So I'm going to go up about 10 mil on pronto face and move all the way to the right. That's as far as it's going to go. So that's, I don't know, looking at this boarding tube here, just a second because I can't see yet. Actually, I mean, I could cut it a little bit shorter, I think. Probably not too much. I mean, I want some like looseness in there so that it's not going to rub against the, because this is going on the inside edge of this sort of metal top frame here over the other side. don't want it rubbing too much on there, although I hope to get some plastic sort of U-channel or something on the edge of this sort of frame, because it's just like, I reckon that's about 1.5 millimeters thick, this metal, just like an angle bracket there. I don't want that rubbing on the wires and such like anyway. So let me have a look. I mean, I probably could shorten it a little bit, but I don't think, looking at that, I don't think I'm going to really be able to shorten it as much as what I thought I would. I'll just show you up here just now. So here's my extruder, not a very good one to be honest with you, but it works reasonably well. There's a broken tooth on here. I have been trying to print some new gears on this printer for this, but problems, stringiness, which I'm trying to solve now. So here's a boarding tube all the way around there, and see, then we got this like almost like metal angle bracket, just the same this side, and I'm worried about this when it's moving left and right and such like, it's rubbing on the edge here. So I hope to get some plastic U-tube or something, I think it's called, that I can put a strip along there, and that might ease that and stop it wearing, although I have not noticed any wear. But basically that hasn't got all that much spare that I could probably shorten it by. I was expecting quite a bit more to be shortened by. Obviously when this is raised up, this hot end, and over to the left, then we're getting quite a lot of free spare there. But basically when it's pushing out, extruding, it's almost pushing against the outside edge of this tube going through, but when it's retracting, it's pulling on the inside edge to a certain extent, and that is a small amount of difference. I'm not sure how much, probably not a lot to be honest with you. That's what I was hoping to solve by shortening this boarding tube, but having a look at it now, I don't think I'm going to really want to shorten it. That's the wiring going on there. And the boarding tube continues over that edge. It's not very sharp, it's quite smooth, this edge, so it's not too bad rubbing against there. So that's a look at that. I don't think I'm going to cut any off that anyway. That was one of the plans, to shorten that and hopefully stop this stringiness and ooze and such like coming out of this. This is a E3D-v6 HotEnd under here, and these are meant to be really good. Well, it's the best HotEnd I've had. I've only had a couple, one that came with it, well, two came with it, and they were worse than useless. 3mm anyway, and this is a 1.75mm HotEnd. Okay, so I think all the other settings, if I remember correctly, are in software. So I'm going to have a look at that just now. So I'll just show you what ED3 version 6 wiki says about some of this stringiness and other issues. Now they're suggesting that you can't really do a massive amount of retraction because it will pull it back into the cold area of the hot end, and there it might freeze, etc, etc, etc. But here, as they talk about filament, you will see that you can get very bad filaments. There's some dodgy filaments about, which I may have. I am using black filament, which can be like have hidden things in it, apparently, if you buy cheap filaments. So I will be changing the filament and seeing if that improves things. I will be using a different model as well, because I don't think this is really the best model to use. But anyway, let's get on with it. So here I've got slicer open. Now you might see I've got some like timer things here on the bottom. That's just to actually remind me that when I'm doing this video screen capture, I'm limited to time. That's all that is down here. That's those two things. So I'll just show you quickly some of these settings. Especially skirt and brim there. Speeds. Okay, filament settings. And this is where the first layer is was 220. Let's change that to 200. Let's change this to 190. And save that. And then to change the retraction settings, you need to go into printer settings. I'll just give you a quick look at the G code, start and end. That's to play a lot of music for me, so I know when to raise the heads and such like. We need to go into extruder there. Nozzle diameter, it's E3D-v6 version 6, it's 0.4 millimeters, so that's right. Our retraction, we're going to change that to 3. Let's see about increasing the speed as well. Default is 40. I'm going to change this to 150. Extra length and restart. One thing about this slicer is, look, I'll put this, I hope this shows up. I'll put it on there, I'll keep it still. It's alright, but then it'll go off. It doesn't give you really much time to read it, in my opinion. I'm going to leave all these settings alone, save that. Actually, I'm going to also export the config here. Not that this is needed to be done. And also the export the bundle. I just like to do that, okay? And that is basically that done. Now I need to go into pointer face, so I'm going to pause out of this. So these are the same model, this sort of herringbone gear. Two parts, like a big one and a small one, quite close together there. I'm going to do a reset here, because I've already sort of sliced this again, I hope anyway. And I'm also going to do, sometimes I like to do disconnect in a second or two and a reconnect. And we can see here on the bottom right that it's M851 is Z minus 7.98. So it has done that, because for me it seemed like it was touching the bed a little bit tight there. Now I'm going to skip the first parts of this printing out, because it does an awful lot of, like when it does level embedded zeros, it plays a lot of music for me to give me a warning that I need to raise or lower this. That's just the way I'm doing it, because I'm doing it by hand. Okay, so I'm going to skip most of that out, and I'll come back when it's actually starting to print. So here's my reel of PLA black. Show you the details here. .75. So on here it's suggesting 190 to 230. Now I have the build temperature basically set to 200, apart from the first layer, which is a bit like hotter, 220 I think. I'll put the details on this video, and that might be a bit warm, so I'm going to knock the main build temperature down to 190 to show you this stand. Basically it's just two bits of wood here, they're screwed together, a couple of screws there. There's some hot glue being stuck on here and been put on a sheet of paper then pressed down to sort of get this level. Okay, piece of wood up there, and there's a big long sort of bolt thing here, screw thing. I think that's off a bed frame. Piece of pipe off a shower. And there's a ballpoint pen tube in here that fits over this bolt very nicely, so that can roll very freely indeed. A couple of these big washers sort of things. Very free movement, but one of the problems with this spool here, I've noticed that it seems out of balance. I don't know how easy it is to show you this. Certainly there, it's a better one. It's not really the filament pulling on that, I don't think. See what I mean? So that's not the ideal situation, because I might be putting a little bit more tension as the filament is feeding into this mechanism. This is not the best mechanism at all. I believe this is like very much like an Ultramate, I think it is called. I'll put the details below if I can find them. It's similar to one of their early sort of feeding mechanisms. And I've changed this quite a bit because it didn't come with this thing on when I bought it, second hand or even third hand, this printer came. And I made this out of cardboard super glue. That latches this thing in. I've added this like longer bolt with a nail, plastic nail thing in, so it's easier to adjust. I've also changed the mechanism inside a bit. Can I show you that? Yes I can, I think so. I'll lift that up. I have to be careful here. So I've actually cut this, I cut this white plastic thing here. So I actually cut this white plastic thing, and then I made a piece of aluminium. So where are we? So I made this piece of aluminium. It sort of slots in there. That is loose, but the bolt pushes against that aluminium, forward or back, and just that aluminium, whereas before it would actually push against this white plastic type thing here. But because that's actually on the hook at the top, that white plastic thing sort of hooks around this hook up there when it goes in. As you're pushing, this whole sort of thing will push forward, but that's affecting the whole thing in a way, if you get me. But there was an issue there that the bolt here was actually sticking into this plastic and leaving dents in it, but with this aluminium piece there, obviously that's a lot stronger because it's metal. Not ideal solution, to be honest with you, but probably better than it was. Easier to adjust, etc, etc, etc. So sometimes I put a piece of card here. Really I need this done better. That's just to try and help keep drafts out of it. Well, I've loaded it up in front of face. I'll show you that just now, but before I actually start, I'm going to ask it to raise the Z probe height a bit, sort of thing. If I can get on this camera, I'll just show you that. So I'm going to use this. There are, obviously you can do this in marlin or whatever it is, and under the so there's Z offset. It's set to H at the moment. So I'm going to select that, and I want to lower that number. It's going up, so 7.98. I think that's going to be good as a sort of try. Go there, go to control, go to store memory, make sure that's stored in the memory, and that should do that. But we will actually see that on front of face, I think, if I remember right. So I'm going to show you front of face. So it's actual speed now. Just want to show you these, like the Z things, as you see there, allowing for auto leveling, auto tramming. The bed moves sort of forward, backwards, side to side to a certain extent. I was pointing over this side earlier because it seemed a bit thin, the plastic on this side, even though it does have this auto tramming on. Anyway, sometimes, I think especially if you are black filament like I'm using here, and it's not too bright down here, it's hard to tell if the filament is actually feeding. Just because this is turning, it does not mean that there's any filament going in. So it's very hard to tell. Even though this is turning, it does not mean that the plastic filament is actually going up. So what I've actually got is a plastic sort of clip. This came with some epoxy resin from Poundland. You get two tubes that you mix together, epoxy resin. And sometimes I find it useful to clip this onto the filament like this. And you probably can see there it is going up, and it is actually, that proves in a way that it is feeding. Because even looking at the spool, sometimes it's hard to tell because it turns either too slowly, or this spool certainly does jerk sometimes. It seems to turn a bit smoothly and then it'll turn quickly. And that is definitely the spool there. So let me go back to showing you the printing. As I say, if you look at that Z here, you'll see that that is moving to allow for the level of the bed. So this is actual speed at the moment. I'll let this go at this speed a bit. I'll just move one of my lights about a bit, this is the actual speed, and I'm going to speed it back up in a few seconds. Just let you watch this a bit longer, if you want to watch this video, that is. As I say, if you look at the Z sort of here, you see how that's turning to adjust the level of the bed as it's moving forward and to setting it from side to side or backwards there, especially at certain times. And what I want to try and catch actually is when it does the next level, because I'm not sure if it's doing the next level at a random time, which I'm asking for. Now if it doesn't do it at a random time, it can leave a bit of a, it's almost like seam. Let me try and show you this that I did earlier. You might just see it like a line there, because it's, when it's, every time it's been going up, it's been doing it at the same sort of time. That's just a test piece. So it's actually started drawing the cogs themselves. It's just been doing the raft up to now and such like. Right, let's get back to speeding it up. This is at normal speed now, at normal speed. Well, that is the videos at normal speed. So I'm going to let you watch this a few seconds, and then I want to show you the feeder and show you how much it's turning when it goes like into reverse, when it does the extrusion sort of retraction. That's the word I'm trying to think of, that word there, retraction. I've asked for 3mm. Let's watch this a few more seconds. And as I say, if you watch the Z carriage sort of threaded rod there, you'll see that that is adjusting the height of the head a bit as the carriage moves forward and back and the X moves side to side. So that's allowing for any offset in the level of the bed, or supposed to. That's your auto leveling, that does that. Although really the name should be auto tramming or tramming, because we're not actually leveling the bed here, we're just adjusting the height of the nozzle as it moves to allow for any offset in the bed if it's not totally level. Anyway, let's show you the feeding mechanism. Let's go around here a bit. And I'll do this trick again of using this sort of clamp thing. It's probably best not to put it too near. You see there that that is going up, because it's very hard to tell by, say, looking at the spool turning that slowly, and you can't tell by just this turning because it might be slipping in there. Really, this is the main way to tell. Watch it just now as it goes in reverse. See, it seems to stop there, but that's not so much, doesn't seem like reverse at that point into the retraction. Oh, I don't want that to actually get caught on the bottom end of this feeding thing. See, like there, see how it jerks there? Now there is a damaged tooth on here, but that's partly why I want to be trying to print out some more. Sorry about if this is jerking, but the camera tripod is right close to the printer here. So let's watch this a little bit longer. So as you see, it seems like it doesn't go all that far back at certain points, but other times I think it does go quite a bit back. See, like there it seemed to stop a bit. And I'll have to get this clamp off here because it's starting to go against the thing, I think. Obviously it's going to depend whereabout it is, whether it goes in like retraction or not. And I'm not sure when it does go into retraction. I think it might be as it moves only onto the next layer really. Or see, it's skipping like from part to part. But anyway, that gives you a good, reasonably good look at that there. So here I'll slow this video down a bit and we'll zoom in a bit closer. I want to watch these cogs to see if I can see it going in reverse basically, because if it's going to retract, surely it has to turn in reverse. I'm asking for 3mm of retraction here, and sometimes I think I can see that this cog is stopping. By the way, there is a bit of a chipped tooth off there, as you can probably see, but it still works okay. So you might notice it stop a bit there briefly, but it doesn't actually seem to be going much in reverse. Even if it is going in reverse, it might be only very small amounts. See, like paused a bit there. Sorry about any jerking here, but the camera tripod is quite near the printer and it's going pretty fast in real life, so it's shaking things up a bit. Ah, now there, just caught it there. So I want to watch that bit again, zoomed in and in super slow motion. And I want to try and see exactly how much it does go in reverse by there. So this is just standard normal speed. I might be able to go a bit faster, I don't know. I mean, I'm only experimenting here, just trying to sort out this stringiness. Let me see if I can tell yet. I think it does look a little bit better than the other one I did. A bit, I don't know. It's very hard to tell. Still might be a bit of stringiness between the two sort of cogs down there. It's hard to tell because of this like probe thing I've cobbled up here. So really putting a probe like this on the front of the carriage isn't particularly a good idea because it does cover what you might want to see. Sorry about that, that's just my phone. You might be able to just see the pattern on the cogwheel there. Let me try and move this light a bit, see if we can. When it moves over that side, then we can probably see because we haven't got so much shadows. That's one of my lights there. I just moved it over a bit. You might see some of the stringiness still between the two sort of cogs because I've got a bigger cog here and not like a pinion quite close to it. In a way this is a good test for stringiness, although it's going to use quite a bit of plastic to print this. It's a good test for other reasons as well, such as if it's going out of like sync and not layering the layers properly, etc, etc, etc. So it's, as the hot end is moving from one cog to the other cog, it's still certainly giving some stringiness there. Right, I'm going to move the camera to a different angle again. This is one of my lights just down here. Just ignore that if you can. This is normal speed, or what I term as normal. Certainly seems like the Z-axis is making quite a bit of an allowance there. Definitely some stringing between the big cog and the small cog. I think it might be a bit less than what was originally. So I might even increase the retraction to 4, possibly even up to 5 if I dare. I'll have to consider that. Let's move the camera again. Not the best angle this really, but gives you a reasonable sort of almost top view there. So let's just let that go around a bit more. Must be about 50%, looks about halfway up. I mean, that's just my phone there. Actually, I have the phone on an alarm to keep on ringing about every 10 minutes so I can make sure I am coming back to check that this print hasn't gone doolally. See some of the stringiness here. Seems to be particularly on this like edge, this side. Right, I'm going back to speed this up a bit. Well, I'm back to normal speed, and as you might be able to see, it's absolutely terrible, almost, well, worse than stringing. It's almost like strands, and it hasn't been printing right. So let me check using my feeding trick. I've put the clamp on the thing. Is it going up? Yes, it is. Just going to tighten that up a bit actually, because I think it's not feeding totally properly there. You're still getting an awful lot of stringing between the two things, but it's certainly stopped printing out anywhere near as well as what it was. My steppers get a bit warm as well. Ouch, yeah, they're very hot actually. Let me try this one down here. Yep, pretty hot. Z1s aren't quite so bad, even though I've turned up the power on the Z1s. So I'm probably going to stop this because there's no chance of that coming out properly. I think what's happened is that the feed has stopped feeding, and then it's lost sort of track of what it's doing and such like. And then leave it a few more seconds. Let me have a look at this. That's feeding. So I'll just try and show you that trick quickly. Just clamp on here when it was a bit lower, and you see that's going up. Like here, I don't know if it's almost stopping feeding there. Going to leave it a bit longer. I've moved this down a bit. That is not gripping, I can tell you now. Let me tighten this up a little bit. This is not a very good feeding sort of mechanism at all really. No sort of spring tension thing on it. All it's relying on is this like bolt pressing on the feed sort of hub bolt inside. Even with this clamp on, sometimes it's a bit hard to tell if it's only going to be moving slow. That is certainly going up. I'm not sure if you can notice that. If you look at it, say, compared with the edge of the thing there, you might notice it's moving further away and certainly getting closer to the edge of the feeder up there, I should say. And then it will speed up. I mean, this motor is very hot. I would imagine it's within like safety. Right, I'm going to pack it in now. Oh, actually, that's come off there. I'm trying to move over quickly to show you. Sorry about this, but you might see that this is actually come off. Stop this. Let me have a look at try and show you the temperatures on here. Oops, sorry about this. So, those seem okay. I did just press off there. I told it to go up. So it's almost like it was pinned alright, and then it started making a bird's nest of spaghetti. And I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to let the steppers cool down. Actually, disconnect there, and then let me move this bed forward if I can. Connect again. Yeah. It's because it's lost of where it was. Okay. Then I'll go quiet when I turn that power supply off there. Quite well stuck on. Worried about this going flying. It's like a lot of things. Yes, we're still getting some stringing on there. I mean, it's hard to tell because that's only, well, a bit less than half the thickness, so to speak, of what it should be. If it was going deeper, then there'd be more chance of stringiness. I think it is a little bit better than what it was. This is so strong stuck to here that's almost, it's actually bending the cogwheel here. This is with a raft, skates, etc, etc. So what's going on here? Help! Help! I'm finishing off there.